in spirit, we're all free. We all have enough. There is enough substance and abundance for everyone to shape and form from. That there is enough wisdom and knowledge for everyone to know what they need to know when they need to know it. There is enough power for everyone to do what they need to do when it needs to be done. So all of that is really the world recognizing its spiritual nature as well. And kicking and screaming, it will still come.
Hello, and welcome to the New Thought Men's podcast, where we're building healthy masculinity in the world. It's great to have you with us. I'm Eamon, and today's guest is Reverend Jomain McKenzie. Let me share a little bit about him before we bring him on. Reverend Jomain is the youngest licensed minister in the Universal Foundation for Better Living UFBL community, bringing fresh energy and bold vision to the New Thought movement. He serves at the Universal Center of Truth for Better Living, UC Truth, in Kingston, Jamaica. He is an international development communications specialist working to improve lives through achieving the United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals. Incredible. Reverend Jomain coaches individuals and ministers around the world on how to apply New Thought principles to advance sustainable development in their communities. Welcome, Jomain.
Hi, Amen. Good to see you. It's been a while.
It has. I think it was the ANTN conference last year.
Yes.
Where you did an amazing presentation. It just touched me so deeply. Around the sustainable goals, development goals for the United Nations. And honestly, I'd never had exposure to that before. I'm like, oh, hey, the world is actually working together towards building a better world.
Yes.
What an amazing concept. But it's great to see you, great to have you on, and we'll definitely talk about that here. I really appreciate, I just want to give you my thanks. I appreciate the amazing man that you are, first of all, but the amazing service, like just getting to know you a little bit through your talk and meeting you last year, your service to others just seems powerful and potent, your service to the world. So I just want to thank you for that and bringing that inspiration to all of us. So I'm sure that'll come through as we talk more. But let's go ahead and start with the UN Sustainable Goals. Let's start there anyhow. And can you share a little bit about that with us? And maybe also, because these goals are like planetary wide, which is awesome. But then how do we bring it down into the bite-sized pieces that we as individuals can participate in these amazing, huge goals and visions that we have to help sustain our planet and each other?
Mm-hmm. So, Eamon, thank you so much for having me. This is an absolute pleasure. I always welcome an opportunity to share about the Sustainable Development Goals, not only because it allows us to talk about what we need to do as a world community, but oftentimes it's lost on so many people that the world is working together to make a difference in the lives of people around the world. It's not just doom and gloom. It's not just war and famine, and we must be cognizant of where we need to have influence and where are the opportunities, but we are also doing good work, and that work requires an all hands on deck approach. So the Sustainable Development Goals is the global agenda for a more peaceful, harmonious, prosperous world that leaves no one behind. Now, it's the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, but I always like to remind people that the United Nations is nations united. It is the collective of the 193 member states. So it's not just an organization over here, it's an organization of countries that got together and decided that we want to have a more inclusive prosperity in how we do development. We want a planet that is secure and sustainable, even while we grow and take advantage of its resources. We want people everywhere to be able to live out their full potential. We want peace in the world, and we want to achieve these goals of peace, planet, prosperity with partnership, which means countries, corporations, civil society groups, and individuals all have a role to play in achieving these 17 sustainable development goals. Now, these may feel big and lofty because some of the goals include no poverty, zero hunger, good health, and well-being. And yeah, that can seem, okay, how is that going to even happen? But I like to remind people as well that there are many small interventions and opportunities at the individual level, at the community level, at the parish, the village, the state, the country level, that all contribute and that all count towards these different goals. So as we talk about no poverty, the programs and workshops and interventions that people are doing in financial literacy that you may see, these are contributing to no poverty. If you've ever heard of a job readiness program, I'm sure you might have, persons being introduced to investment and saving schemes, these are contributing to no poverty. Farmers market contributing to zero hunger. School nutrition and feeding programs ensuring that communities and schools in more hard to reach communities, that those children have a hot and nutritious meal. Those are contributing to the sustainable development goals. When we talk about mobile clinics, in addition to big hospitals, but when we bring these services to the doorsteps of people who are elderly, who may not otherwise have the opportunity to travel as far to a major center, that's contributing to good health and well-being. When you make time to tutor and mentor a student at a school and support an after-school program that help keep children educated even after school and out of violent situations, these are also contributing to the sustainable development goals as well, for peace, justice, strong institutions. And the list can go on and on and on. You're also familiar with recycling programs, supporting the development of ramps and ensuring that our infrastructure are accessible for people who are living with disabilities or differently abled. All of these things contribute and impact the sustainable development goals. So if you've ever done anything like that, if you've ever supported a program like that, I'm here to tell you on behalf of the international development community, thank you for supporting the sustainable development goals. And I would encourage you to look for opportunity to scale, to expand and impact even greater service to the sustainable development goals.
You can find more about the sustainable development goals. Just Google UN sustainable development goals, yes, and they pop up, and it's like, yeah, how do we create the world that works for all?
Yes.
Which is our part of our vision in New Thought of how do we do that? How do we actually bring that to everyone and the environment and the nature and all the living beings that are on this planet? So yeah, I really encourage you to check it out, and maybe we'll at some point have you back or be able to get a video, because that video that you did last year was just incredible on what the goals are. And then you're right, how do we bring all these amazing things into our lives? How do we make them a part of our regular experience of, oh, maybe we have a garden, or maybe we want to start like I love what some people are doing, having these front yard gardens.
Mhm.
And so, they either don't have a fence, or they say, welcome. And anybody who needs food
Yeah.
can just come in and pick some lettuce
Mhm.
and a tomato and a green pepper and have dinner for their family,
Yes.
have a healthy, nutritious meal. So I think just the little things, or the things that bring us joy, like gardening or reading, helping kids read, just so many of these sustainable goals, working with climate action, working with the oceans, um, peace and justice, just all these incredible goals that allow us to move in that direction of inspiration,
Mhm.
of the world that works for all, to be able to be of service to our fellow human beings. And that to me sounds like the goal that I want to be a part of. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Listen, when people have food to eat and shelter, when they know that they are secure, there is less violence in the world, there is less greed, and trust me and believe that there is enough for everyone to share and to have. And that is why I encourage everyone to realize that there is work for everyone to do as it relates to the sustainable development goals.
Mm.
Whether it's a school, whether it's a religious community, whether it's a club, if you realize and appreciate that we have this shared space called this planet,
Mm.
the physical environment as well as the people with whom we share it, then you will accept that there is also a co-responsibility
Mm.
that we have to make this safe and hospitable place to live for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you 100%, Jomain. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, it's where we're headed. In my opinion, it's where we're
Yes.
headed. And I think we see this even if current political environments are against it, we as people can step up and say, no, I'm for that. I'm
Yes.
for this, and
Yes.
do our little part. And hopefully, ultimately, it comes back around, because this is it. This is
Mhm.
the one planet we got.
It is.
Um, as beautiful as people wanting to go to Mars and live on the moon and all that stuff, boy, that's a different world. That's not the world that we literally grew up in,
Yeah,
or grew out in, from the single-celled organism to these amazing human beings that we are today.
absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Well, let's, boy, you just shared a beautiful sharing for our summit. And if people want to check that out, they can go to our website and sign up to get those, to watch that, and even become a member if you'd like. In that conversation, your title was Divine Brotherhood, which was beautiful, awakening purpose and prayer for people and planet. And I just love that. And so to kind of start out, you talked about, men are the primary perpetrators and victims of violence, which sometimes we don't, I'd say most of the time we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
That not only uh, are we perpetrators, but we're also victims as men. So I've got a few statistics here that I looked up real quick. Men can be both victims and perpetrators of violence, with statistics showing that approximately 1 in 3 men experience physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner over their lifetime.
Mhm.
1 in 3 men have experienced physical violence or sexual violence. About half of men have experienced psychological aggression. So how, this is one of my intentions with this year's summit being the divine masculine, is how do we, one, raise awareness, because that's the first step in being able to address issues is like, oh, awareness around it. And then how do we have it differently? How do we create this world in a different way? Whether it's through outward action or inward action, our own commitment to peace does make a difference. And we've proven that scientifically, that when we are in that vibration or that experience or that energy of love or peace, that we bring that love and peace to those who are around us in the world. Any thoughts on some of that?
Yeah, I think unfortunately, I mean, we're the, if I could say, the victims of our own culture of toxicity. And I could go. My mom was a history teacher, so I could go on and on and on and on and on about why we are the way we are.
Yeah.
What I will say, though, that there is a need, first of all, as you said, to acknowledge who we have been being, acknowledge, my mother, also a teacher, would say our bad behavior, and also develop an appreciation for unlearning those patterns, those behaviors as individuals first, and as communities. And I'm glad that this space that you have that you continue to facilitate, Eamon, allows for that acknowledgement in a safe space for unlearning some of these unhealthy patterns, patterns and behaviors, and replacing that by learning new skills to better navigate how we engage with each other in this three-dimensional world. So that unlearning is important. That learning of new skills, of how we cope with stress, of how important it is to regard our fellow men and our sisters, but also relearning, and I'm saying relearning from a spiritual space, relearning the truth of who we are, our true self, our spiritual nature. That includes all the qualities of good, of power, of wisdom, of love, and embodying those qualities that are eternal and everlasting and principled, and pulling on that spiritual self to navigate this world that we live in. So once we, as I said in my presentation earlier, acknowledge that one, relearning, because we forgot at some point, because we always knew it, because we are one with source, right? So we had to have known it on some level at some point, but we forgot. So relearning our spiritual nature and awakening to the responsibilities that come with our spiritual nature is going to be important. So if I'm a spiritual being, if I have been jam-packed with all of these, I like to say, Superman or superhuman spiritual qualities, then I have a responsibility to use them wisely to impact my life for the better. But also I have a responsibility to the world, to pull up my brother when I see him falling short, to pull up societies, to be an example for other men, to be an example for families, and to also support the illumination and the sharing of these principles with the world, helping others to realize that as I embrace my divinity, that you are divine as well. And if we all realize this, then we create such a magical spiritual vibration in the world that becomes unstoppable. And the time, I think, is ripe for that relearning of our spiritual nature.
Yeah, absolutely. As the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. So when we do our inner work, which is what we advocate here in New Thought, is doing that inner work to heal those things. And then we get to go out in the world and be that, have that experience of health and well-being, of what healthy masculinity looks like, and to model that as best as we can as these, fallible human beings, but to model that and to especially get into, our philosophy, which is we are already that. We are these divine beings, like you were saying. And to pull from that place of illumination, then it really helps and supports illuminate the rest. especially in groups. That's why I think men's groups are so powerful, and that is such a powerful place of healing for us as men and us as human beings. Women's groups just as powerful. So that's, I think being able to provide that healing space, being able to have those conversations about maybe if you have trauma or tragedy from your upbringing, to be able to speak to that. And we know scientifically how all that out pictures into the rest of our lives. So when we do that healing work, when we realign with that divine nature instead of this human nature, paradoxically, connected and the same, and yet there is this separation of difference, the spiritual self bringing in these very valuable things, and then this dense physical beingness with atoms and protons, neutrons, electrons that create these cells, that create these, this body that we live in. And all of the DNA and the history and a lot of things that are passed down generationally too, that all of the influences that come into our lives in this world can tell us, either those maybe some good qualities, but also these negative pieces that may not support us. And we probably don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but violence in the movies, there are just a ridiculous amount of violent movies and men doing violence in movies, and whether that's even something like The Reacher, where he's doing good, but he's still uber violent, how do we actually use our words, be mature people, use our words, and help people in those ways, in those respects? And I'm not saying that it isn't a problem and that there aren't things that need to happen to help heal or help deal with physical violence, because there are, but there are also other ways. And how are we developing those? Back to what you said, how do we develop that spiritual understanding, that spiritual connection, that to that higher nature instead of the lower nature?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely so. And what important, and what it reaffirms for me as people who've seen the light, that we have a responsibility to share the light. The truth is that, I believe in my heart that most people are doing the best at what they believe to be true. Now, your best may also have suboptimal results, because the best doesn't mean that it qualifies as, or your best doesn't always qualify as the best. And that is why it is important increasingly for us to share this information, to share skills, to share with people that life doesn't have to be this way. You do not have to continue through a life of violence, but even shifting it from violence, you do not have to live a life always sick. You do not have to live a life of poverty. That you can have happy, healthy, successful families and marriages if that is your intention. That you can live in a healthy environment. And those of us who have the tools, I think we also have a responsibility to fuel our empowerment, to accelerate and amplify the scale at which we share with people that the divine presence of the universe intends for you to live a healthy, happy, successful life. And that is, why I was also drawn to this program, because that is what you're doing, Eamon, reminding people that there is good, and as we would say in Jamaica, there is gooder out there for you. And it begins with transforming your mind so that you can actualize and realize a different life. But it starts within. So
yeah, absolutely. And I feel blessed too in finding this movement and, being able to, do the healing work, being able to entrain myself as not only, through classes and practitioner training, ministerial training, but to know that greater vision about myself, to know that truer vision of who I am as a spiritual being, and that is the one that I want to inform my body, my mind, my heart, my emotions. That is the influence that I want to have, instead of pop culture, or instead of, all the stuff, the worldly things, which we're a part of and are a part of our lives.
Yeah.
But, on that truer level, to be there from that, to find that true origin, which brings me to our next conversation. You mentioned Michael Beckwith and our true origin in a talk that you heard him. Finding the truth of who we are, that we are created and we are the creator too, in our own lives. Anything you want to share on that? The true origin?
Oh boy.
I hope you're enjoying this podcast. To connect with our community of like-minded men and access our full library, including summit talks, meditations, podcasts, weekly online men's groups, and so much more. Become a member today at newthoughtmens.community/membership. And now back to the podcast.
I think this recognizing who we are could not be more important today. And we live in a society that will tell us who we are, will try to influence our thinking, will try to persuade us to buy things, to engage in different activities, to go here, to go there. And young people today, especially who are perhaps exposed to social media, will be told what kind of body is optimal, what kind of relationship you are. So oftentimes, or the propensity today, is to even have your desires influenced by everything else around you. I think in my own experience, I could have been down a very different path based on my upbringing, being exposed to violence in my family, seeing also very tough times when the trajectory of my family experience changed. But what held me, what kept me grounded, was even with all that, I was fortunate enough to be exposed to individuals and organizations that always reminded me who I was. And even before it was clothed with spirituality, I was told that I am strong, that I am brilliant, that I am going to be successful, that I can do and be and have anything that I want in life, that I can live and be and have success, not in an afterlife, but I can have that right now. So for me, whenever I have the opportunity, and perhaps why it resonated with me so much from Dr. Michael Beckwith, because I saw for myself when I was affirmed, when I was told that I was not worm in the dust, that I was not just a poor country boy and would not be amount to anything, that my life was changed when I was affirmed. And so as I grew older into adulthood and recognized that I am love and power and wisdom, and I can be successful, and I can have all of that because that is the intention of the divine presence of the universe for myself. And when I accepted that divine inheritance, because I believe that's what it is, then my life was transformed. And I believe if it could transform me, then that is a ticket for anyone else interested in a transformative experience.
Yeah, that foundation, the foundation from which we're all forged, is that deservability, is that love, is that abundance, is that joy, is that all of that stuff. Yeah, beautiful.
Absolutely. And I remember I would have shared that, my senior minister and one of my mentors would have said, social justice has to catch up with universal spiritual principles. So when we speak of our identity, the intention of the divine was always that everyone has human rights, that everyone has access to education and have access to food, etc. So when we see our society, maybe at the origin of the United Nations, our society established the Declaration of Human Rights. That was our society catching up with universal spiritual laws, because that was always the case in spirit. In spirit, you do have human right. It is your right to exist, and it is an inalienable right. So that is the catch-up that was taking place. And we see it often when we see systems of forced labor or slavery, that is no more in the form that it was in 1838. That is our society catching up with universal spiritual law, because it is the intention of the divine that everyone be free. When we see our society passing laws like marriage equality, etc., that is the society catching up with universal spiritual law, because in spirit, we're all free. We all have enough. There is enough substance and abundance for everyone to shape and form from, that there is enough wisdom and knowledge for everyone to know what they need to know when they need to know it. There is enough power for everyone to do what they need to do when it needs to be done. So all of that is really the world recognizing its spiritual nature as well, and kicking and screaming, it will still come. So that gives me a little hope, I think, because I see certain conditions in the world and in our different countries, and how we treat each other and how we treat migrants. And I know that those principles, behaviors, policies, if you will, if aren't grounded in universal spiritual law, they're not permanent, they're not lasting. And if it's not permanent and lasting, it will fade away. If most of us hold to the truth and allow that frequency to act on the powers that be.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I loved what you said, or what Reverend Sheila said. Social justice must eventually align with universal spiritual principles. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Powerful. Speaking of which, one of the things that that I'm so grateful for are those mentors, are those people who support us, are those role models. And we were talking, earlier about, Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King, Gandhi, those influences over us. And I actually have almost a vision board, a vision poster of, these are my role models, these are my mentors, these are the people that I really admire, to have their energy in my life, to have the experience of that reminder of who I truly am and what I am truly here for. What's my purpose? And people who have made just incredible, impacts in the world, like Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King, and so many others. Do you have some, mentor? Obviously, mentors. I know Reverend Sheila is one of yours. Pretty awesome. But who are some of your role models? What are some of the people that support you, on this path? Because even though, we've studied it for a long time and we're on the path and even teaching this, life happens, and it's those people, at least for me, that help bring me back to those that spiritual foundation and spiritual understanding of who I really am. And Eamon, you're not this, it's okay. Abundance will happen. It's okay. You're upset or angry, or, the things of the world that can kind of twist and turn us and pull us in different directions.
Oh, absolutely. I am the product of my ancestors, I like to say.
Mm.
And for me, I mean, I could go far, 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 far back, but ancestors for me, I like to invoke my grandmothers. My grandmothers were some praying grandmothers. And interestingly, even while they were not New Thought, they were very traditional. Amen. When I tell you very traditional, they were very, very traditional. But the way they prayed so affirmatively, they were not, we would say in Jamaica, they were not praying beggy prayers. They were not begging spirit for anything. They were demanding. So I would say, how is my grandmother talking? She's talking to her God like her God is like right beside her. Almost, but it was a prayer that recognized that she was one with God. She believed that she was one with God. And that had a strong influence over my life because I heard also how she would pray for me or how they would pray for me whenever I was with them, even as a child, just affirming me, just knowing who I was and just seeing within me what I didn't at the time see in myself. And that is why prayer is such an important part of my life, because even as a child, it was such a very strong and central part of my upbringing. I'll tell you that even when I spent time with my grandmother in the morning time, she would come in my room, sometimes unbeknownst to me, amen, and she would be praying. If you've ever been to or seen a Black church, seen a little old lady, that was my grandmother's prayers.
Beautiful.
And growing up in New Thought, seeing and hearing my mentor, Reverend Dr. Sheila, pray as well and affirm me and, telling me, even as an adult, who I was and who I can be, really influenced even some of the decisions I made, practicing ministry and studying, and then eventually making the decision to become a minister, was because those mentors, those ancestors, those people on whose shoulders I stand, were able to see in me what I did not see for myself. And I think that also speaks to the importance of the work that you do, helping and encouraging brothers and men to see a different version of themselves, helping them to see the best version of themselves, helping them to see the divine picture of themselves through your eyes, the example of the divine until they see it for themselves. And I think I credit, just my own growth, my development, and my path to people like that, affirming me and also affirming me through a very prayerful life as well. Prayer has been, I think, just so central to me that in times when I felt even physically weak, physically unable to go on, in the silence, in my meditation time, I still hear the affirmations of my grandmother. I still hear the affirmations of my mentor, Reverend Sheila. And that, I believe, is so, so important. Everyone deserves that, to hear and be affirmed by people who believe in them, even when they don't believe in themselves.
Yeah, especially in those times when they don't believe in themselves.
Yes.
That's key. And, that's why we surround ourselves with other New Thought people, other optimists, other people who will hold that high vision of who we truly are, that spiritual foundation, when we're in those moments of our pain or our trauma, our struggle, our, the throes of life that sometimes can take us off our deeper understanding of who we are. And to have that in any group, in any community, I think is a huge piece of what it is to really be of service to each other. Whether it's one-on-one or whether it's community, that's such a powerful piece and a necessary piece. And then, one of the other things that we do is we provide the tools, the training, the understanding of, okay, I want to be a better man. How do I communicate with my partner in a better way
Mhm.
so that we're not getting into fights all the time?
Yeah.
Or how do I have this, when the world looks like gloom and doom, how do I find that light? How do I find that inspiration? How do I see in a different through the third eye rather than through, the physical eye? To
Mhm.
see that spiritual aspect of it is, I believe, is that first process in being able to shift the consciousness.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, prayer, yes, prayer, as you were talking about and shared in your sharing at the summit, prayer and purpose. I agree. Prayer, especially our form of affirmative prayer, or treatment, is what I kind of have been steeped in.
Mhm.
It's just so powerful, and not beggy like you said, but yeah, this is, like your grandma was doing it, like, spirit, I know you're
Yeah.
right here with me.
Yes.
How do I do this? How do I live this good life? How do I accept more abundance, more love, more peace, more joy, more wholeness, more health, more well-being in my life?
Absolutely. And Eamon, I would say that, one of the things I've come to realize is that we need to teach young people, we need to teach men how to pray again.
Mm,
And as spiritual beings, we believe in affirmative prayer. We need to be teaching affirmative prayer,
yeah.
so people feel so more inclined to wherever you are, because we believe in the omnipresence, that you can slip away from the doom and gloom. You can turn away from the facts and know the truth. And once people recognize that
Yeah.
you have this tool wherever you are, physically and in mind. Can you imagine if we start just teaching that, just leading the movement, that wherever you are,
Mhm.
whether it's in a courtroom or a prison cell or on the borders of some war-torn city, that right where you are, not a piece of the divine, but all
Mhm.
all the omnipotence is present with you and is acting for you.
Yeah.
If you have that consciousness, you're unstoppable.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I loved the exercise you did as just a reminder,
Yeah.
of take your ID out and then write down, and that's the human, that's the legal, the all of that stuff
Yes.
version of who you are. But then also you encouraged us to write down, I am one with the divine, I am one with spirit, I am perfect, I am whole, I am complete. And to
Yes.
put that in with your ID, or even in front of your ID, right?
Yes.
you know to just be that reminder that we're always carrying around that peace, that we can in any moment go,
Yeah.
yeah, i
Yeah.
am I am
Yeah.
that.
Listen, we forget. That's
Yeah.
the truth.
As humans, yes. For sure.
That's the
For
truth. So, this is practical stuff. New Thought is practical.
Yeah.
So whatever you can do to, trick the mind, if you will, whatever you need to do to turn away from the facts, turn away from the stuff, to remind, no, come back, come back, come back, then you do it. Don't feel too vulnerable. Don't feel too silly. Some person, I've seen variations of this activity, and some persons have perhaps selected a photograph or a naturistic image that just reminds them of their divinity. But or you put it on something that looks like a business card, you stick it in your wallet, or you even frame it and put it in your house, so that wherever you are, you remember. If you are triggered by the kids, or your partner says something, you're gonna look to the hills of your true identity, so you don't make a mistake, you don't fall as easily, but we stay as much as we can. I like to tell people that, if you're going to invoke your humanity, I won't tell you all the time, but most of the time, we should try and strive to live from the spirit of who we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was one of many uses of the altar, and still is for me today, like a reminder that I am this. I
Yes.
am this. I have different, all the different deities of all the past that I have explored, and, a candle and affirmations and things, that just are reminders or anchors, to that foundation, that true
Mhm.
foundation, that then I go, oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. And let
Mm.
me sit in front of that altar and meditate for
Absolutely.
even 5 minutes, 10
Mhm.
minutes, a half an hour, whatever it is.
Yes.
Just to be in that reminder space. And once we do that on a regular basis, or even include prayer in that, then we're really kicking it into high gear. And then we're in training, not only our minds, but our hearts, as that
Yes.
reminder of what the foundation is, that
Absolutely.
spiritual foundation and that deeper connection, that we are so much more than these physical beings.
So much
Um,
more. As fabulous as they are.
yes, as wonderful and amazing as they are, as great as it is, and truly, it is our high. I believe, anyhow, it is our highest good, or the most intelligent part of us has chosen this and has
Yeah.
said, okay, it's so important that Jomain is on the planet Earth at this particular time.
Yeah.
For Eamon at this particular time, for all of us at this particular time, which you mentioned earlier, that we are in change. We are in, not that we're always in change on some level, but I think societally we're in this process of evolving, of spiraling upwards into our greater beingness and our greater potential.
Mhm.
Sometimes that means that the ugliness, we're especially seeing it in America right now, racism, homophobia, sexism, the violence, or lack of acceptance of people who are immigrants, and people who have come here to do amazing work, hard work. I've been in construction my whole life.
Yeah.
I know tons of Hispanic men who
Mhm.
are just incredible and beautiful men, and such dedicated and hard workers.
Mhm.
And it truly makes me sad where we're at. It seems a reversal
Yeah.
of where I think
Yeah.
we should be. But at the same time, oftentimes when we're evolving, we take a step forward, or two steps forward, five steps forward, but then we take a step or two back.
Yeah.
And then we move forward even more. So I think it's a part of the evolutionary process. And for me, I'm looking at the state of our country, the United States, anyhow, right now. What we're going through seems a little dark, and
Mhm.
seems like a little bit, a lot, maybe, depending on your own judgments. But for me, knowing that, and again, back to that, holding the high vision, of we are evolving into this greaterness. We are
Yeah.
evolving into this. These things are coming up. This racism, this sexism is coming up because it needs to be looked at. It needs to be
Yeah.
brought to consciousness. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be healed for
Absolutely.
us.
Yeah.
So opportunities abound.
Yes, yes, yes. And I like what you said. Opportunities abound, opportunities to grow, opportunities to shift. I remember some time ago, um, I was in a space that was having, some conversations that were not as empowering towards women. And I was asking the question, as a very younger person in the space with these very older men, Spirit, what will you have me do? Like, I'm uncomfortable. If I say something, they'll maybe slap me in my face or chase me out of the barbershop. Like,
Mm.
and a lot of people are asking those questions as well. What do I do? And in the moment, it just came out to me, or just came out of my mouth. Um, I wonder what your mother would think about that. I wonder what your sister would think about that.
Yeah.
And the room just got still.
Mm.
And I didn't say anything else.
Yeah.
I didn't have maybe the capacity to say anything else, just because of the nature of the space and safety and, all of that. But I was happy that in that openness and receptivity to respond, that I believe the spirit of the universe was able to plant a seed of idea, and I was allowing enough or permissive enough to allow something to come out. And, to this day, I believe that made a difference in that space. So sometimes our impact doesn't have to be placards and roadblocks in the streets. Sometimes it's prayerfully and with purpose, asking Spirit, what will you have me do? And be open to whatever it is that's speaking, that comes to you, to come forth.
That's it. I think that's the power of being willing to be of service to that higher, greater nature that we are.
Yeah.
And how beautiful! What a beautiful moment. And the truth is that we as men need to have those moments more and more, where even just a single sentence can shift the consciousness.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to go, oh, it's them, it's their problem, it's not mine, it's these people or these people, and the truth is, life is a reflecting back to our perception, our own consciousness.
Absolutely.
So if we're talking disrespectfully about women, about people of other genders or races, then that says something about us.
Absolutely.
And that's actually that insight within us that goes, oh, maybe I have a place to grow in there. And in that, maybe that seed was planted, or I can see how that seed would be planted of that higher nature of, what would my mom or my sisters have to say about those comments? How would they feel?
Yeah.
Because it is about holding that high consciousness. And of course it's easy for us because we're like, okay, you're a spiritual being, we look at it from that perspective. And so it's not really a question of like maybe normal people have, of like needing the ego to feel better about itself by putting someone else down.
Yeah.
You go, oh, I recognize that not only am I whole, but we are one. We are connected. And so what I say about you, I'm really saying about myself.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I think we're wrapping up our time here. It's been an amazing conversation. But before we go, I just want to ask this final question that I've been asking to other people on the podcast.
Oh, boy.
Is what does divine masculinity look like in the 21st century?
Oh, wow.
I know, big question. We could probably spend a whole podcast on that.
Yeah. I think what comes first to me is that divine masculinity today is recognizing and standing in your wholeness. It's recognizing all the aspects of who you are. I think for so long, the masculine nature has been featured with only some aspects, or even stereotypes, or I am the front, I am the leader, I am the boss, etc. But to truly also in this day and age have empathy for the world around us means recognizing that, yes, I'm a leader, but I'm also a nurturer. That I am the thinking and intellectual nature, as Fillmore says, but I'm also the feeling nature. That I am not just a physical person, I'm also a spiritual being. And that spiritual being also comes with a mental, emotional self, comes with a social self, comes with a relational self, comes with a vocational self. and empowering all those aspects, all the complexities that makes you a whole person, will make you better able to understand all the nuances of life, understand all the experiences of others, the experiences of people who are marginalized, experiences of people who are made vulnerable by society. And in so doing, in that embodying and strengthening that understanding, using those other skills to help shape and make a difference in the lives of other people. And I think more than anything else, that is what is required of us as men today.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. In our community, we call that the whole self.
Yes.
You know, the whole man.
Yeah.
Like, we're whole men. We're
Yeah.
not these. We're not in the man box.
Yeah.
Society wants to put us in. You're this. You're the provider. You're the this. You're all of these things. But
Absolutely.
we get to be the whole self. The notion that we aren't feeling or aren't spiritual as men. We're, intellectual and physical. We're here to do stuff and think about stuff, but not feel, not spiritual stuff, not the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, why wouldn't you want to think about that bigger stuff? That's where the gold is. But that we are that whole self. And I think when we step outside of that man box, step outside of those stereotypes, those roles that society or people in our life want to put us in, and we just declare, yes, I'm a whole person. I have the whole human experience, as everyone on the planet does. To deny, a part of ourselves, I think doesn't allow the fullness of ourself to express. I mean, clearly, and it's in that fullness that we get our authenticity, that we get to share our true self, and that we get to understand and see it for ourselves, in my opinion. So yeah, great. Oh, this has been such an incredible conversation. I have really, really enjoyed this. So we're kind of wrapping up here, but if you want to connect with Jomain, you can connect with him at Jomain, Jomain, George, GEORGE.com. And just so grateful to have you here with us today. A beautiful conversation. I hope we'll have more over the years.
Yes.
And just honor you and bless you on your service, on your journey, and in life.
Thank you so much, Eamon. This has been the highlight of my week, and I've had a good week.
Nice.
So thank you so very much for opening and sharing your platform. And I just pray the winds of spirit just carry this message beyond what you could ever hope, dream, or imagine. So all the best to you and your wonderful team, and bless you in this work and your service to humanity. I just bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Well, grateful to have you here, and just want to thank everybody for joining us today. There's more to come, so stay tuned in.